Okay, so we are now trying to solve some problems relating to quadratic equations and solving them by completing the square. So this book is an IGCSE patterned, or say it's IGCSE syllable book, and here are some questions. This is my homework actually. So after I've finished most of the questions, I thought I'll save the last 4 for the video. Now we will try to solve question number 12. And keep in mind, this video is actually for people who have an idea how to solve quadratic equations using completing the square but have difficulties in proving so, or take this as a practice exercise. Now starting with question number 12. Try to solve the equation x squared plus 6x plus 12 is equal to 0 by completing the square. Explain why you can find no solutions. And this video, or this question, also highlights that in quadratic equations there are some equations which you solve by completing the square, in which you can, or in any equation which you cannot find a solution. Now let's try to solve this. Okay, let's try to solve this, and let this be a guideline for those who have some difficulties, because a lot of guys I know in my class have difficulties in completing the square and finding the reason reason for having no solution. Now let's start. The equation is x squared, so x squared plus 6x, I'm writing that down now, plus 10 is equal to 0, right? This is the equation. Now just as a starter, if, for example, we know that x squared, to complete the square, we know that we have to send the constant to the other side of the equation. X squared plus 6x is equal to minus 10, right? Now when we try to solve it, we take the half of the coefficient of x, but not x squared, and we square it. So the half of 6 is 3, and its square is plus 9. So we take x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to minus 10 plus 9. Because in order to maintain the equality of the equation, we need to perform the same operation on both sides of the equation. Now, just for people, just to let people know, there is an identity of the quadratic equation, and that identity states that x minus a square, right? This is a form, or say this is a characteristic, or say this is a type of an expression, quadratic expression, the basic type, you can say. When you expand this, we get x minus a times x minus a, right? Then when you expand it further, we get x squared minus a times x, which is ax, then a times x again, which is ax again, and then minus a times minus a, we get plus a squared. Then we get x squared minus 2ax plus a squared. Now if you look at this final expression, you try to let's say you try to compare this equation right here, or rather this equation right here, with this identity, then you can see clearly that being the coefficient of x, 2a is equal to 6, or rather, to reframe it, 6 is equal to 2a. And if you want to complete the square, we need to find a squared. To find a squared, we need to find a, and a is when it's double, we get 6. So it's pretty obvious that a is equal to the half of 6, which is in this case 3. And to find a square, we square 3, so we get 9 plus 9. So likewise, in this case, when you try to solve the quadratic equation, we get x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 9 minus 10. We get minus 1. Now it's also pretty obvious from here that the square of the half of 6, or the square of a, is less than the constant, right? Or rather more than the constant. In any case, when you equate with the negative constant, you will get no solution. So to prove it, let's go further. Let's solve the equation further just to be sure. So x squared, to solve it, we take x minus or plus 3 whole square is equal to minus 1. Now those of you who do not know how I did this, I'll explain it in a video later, highlighting the factoring method of solving quadratic equations. But for now, let's roll with this, because if you expand this bracket over here, you will get this expression, right? It's an identity. So if you even look at this identity and compare it to x minus a whole square, you will get the same structure of the equation. Now going further on, we get x plus 3 is equal to the square root of minus 1. Now before I even send 3 to the other side and make it minus 3, there is no way, I absolutely do not agree, I reject, I object that there is any root for a negative number. Because we all know that there is no real number or no integer in known mathematics that is a root of a negative number. Therefore, that is why there is no solution.